Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Wise and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thanks for spending some of your time with us tonight. What's going on, guys?
Let's talk some sports, baby.
This is
A Drink of Wisdom.
Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Wise and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thanks for spending some of your time with us tonight. As a reminder to the listeners, besides being on all your favorite podcast platforms, A Drink of Wisdom is also now on YouTube, with each show segment now available. Head on over, and if you like what you hear, we'd appreciate hitting that subscribe button. What's going on, guys?
Cody brought the beard. I brought the wisdom. Drink brought the drink. Let's get it.
Let's talk some sports, baby.
Let's do just that. In episode 58, Trent Williams remains locked in D.C., Mark Cuban offers thoughts on when we can see the NBA start up again, and we lay out our top 5 NBA teams. But first, we begin with an update on the Cam Newton saga. Last week, the Panthers gave Newton and his camp permission to look into a trade, but after the week it came and gone, nothing had materialized. Panthers have since released Newton, saving over $19 million in cap space. Former first overall pick and 2015 MVP has cleared a physical with a good bill of health and is hungry for a new opportunity to continue his career. So let's start with this, Jay. What is Cam's legacy in Carolina?
First off, let's just start by, I think all of us deserve credit on this sort of topic. We had this pegged weeks ago. It's no surprise that Cam Newton's time at Carolina has come to an end. So I just want to get that out of the way. We step up to the plate and acknowledge when we get it wrong. But in this case, we got it right. So let's just want to point that out for the record. But as far as Cam Newton's legacy in Carolina, let's be real. Panthers didn't start up in the NFL until 1995. So you got to take this accomplishment with a little bit of a grain of salt, but it still matters. Cam Newton is by far the most successful quarterback in Carolina Panther history. I mean, we got to look at some of this stuff here. Cam Newton's got 68 career wins. The next closest in Panther history is Jake Delhomme, 53 wins. He's got the most passing touchdowns in franchise history, the most passing yards. He's got the most rushing touchdowns in franchise history. So that's his legacy in Carolina. He's the best quarterback that they've ever had, and that's going to continue for the foreseeable future. No disrespect to the recently signed Teddy Bridgewater, but that's just the way it is. I'm also looking at Cam Newton. This is a guy that, and you can lay some criticism at his feet for, if you want to talk about the just nonsensical press conference attire that he'll have on from time to time. You can talk about, his attitude in the aftermath of the Super Bowl 50 loss. You could talk about things like that, but Cam Newton playing the game of football, watching him he's one of those guys that you just watch him play and you can just see his love for the game as he's playing it. That's one of the things that was really special to me for watching him those many years in Carolina. I've always been a little critical that when you play that way, you got to be able to lose with some grace. And that's that has been one of his shortcomings. But all in all, I mean, hands down, best quarterback that the Panthers have ever had. I mean, that 2015 season when he led them to the Super Bowl, 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, a 15-1 record, and within, just came up a little bit short in the end. But I mean, the Panthers have never had a quarterback like him, and the NFL really has never seen another player like him. When you talk about quarterbacks and their ability to run with the football, that's something we've seen more and more as time has went along. But as far as quarterbacks that could run with the football in between the tackles, Cam Newton is the best that we've ever seen in that regard. Now I'm saying in between the tackles. Where the Lamar Jacksons of the world are more dynamic and explosive outside the tackles and on the perimeter. But inside, when you talk, if there's a quarterback that I got to get 1 yard or one first down, I want the ball in Cam Newton's hands. And with that being said, I'm taking into account that he just got cleared at a physical that he had in Atlanta on Monday. I think Cam Newton still has a lot of good football left in him. I think it's a little bit curious that the market for him doesn't seem to have been there. The Carolina Panthers and their efforts to trade him, or Cam Newton and his people in his camp looking for a trade partner, it did not pan out. Could it be that people were waiting on him to get cleared medically? I don't know, but I gotta believe he's going to end up somewhere. I said last week I think New England would be the perfect spot for him. I don't know if that'll happen. That depends on Bill Belichick. I will say this: there could be one obvious landing spot that we haven't looked at. Is it possible that the Washington Redskins could have some interest in Cam Newton? They just brought in Kyle Allen as the backup. Do we know, is Ron Rivera sold on Dwayne Haskins? Does he have interest in reuniting with Cam Newton? I don't know, but I do think it's fair to bring that up and just question and say, could the Redskins be a landing spot? I don't. In the end, I don't think that it is, but I do think it's possible. But all in all, Cam Newton, great quarterback, great athlete, and I now that he is healthy, I think we're going to see some movement with Cam Newton really soon as he moves on in his career.
All right. Let's play a little word association, shall we? Number 1 pick in 2011. That's significant. Why? You go look at that 2011 draft. It was the real deal. Just know that was a good draft. 2015 MVP. Okay, I can get behind that. Offense Rookie of the Year in 2011. Okay. First team All-Pro one time, 2015, same year he won the MVP. 3-time Pro Bowler, 2011, 2013, 2015. All right. Mind you, we just said he's been there 9 seasons. Okay. 3 and 4 in the playoffs. Okay. Cool. The question is, what is Cam's legacy in Carolina? Well, let me sprinkle a little sauce on that. Here's what I think it is. You drafted a quarterback. This quarterback is bigger than most linebackers. He was probably the best bet as far as a dual quarterback to come out since, one Michael Vick. All right, cool. Then I thought, he had the 2015 season. And then after that, for me, I wasn't, he was cool. He was all right. But let's talk about that 2015 season. That is the season they got to the Super Bowl, right? Okay, well, so he got 1 Super Bowl. I think what defines Cam Newton's legacy and what people tend to overlook, this is why the reason why a lot of people are out on Cam Newton. I got it, he has that good season. His attitude don't match the productivity. What I mean by that? Well, hey, if you want the best dressed guy in the building, go get Cam Newton. You want the guy that's not going to put it all on the line in the Super Bowl, go get Cam Newton. You want a guy that he want to project the blame on everybody else, go get Cam Newton. But if you want a face of your franchise, you want a guy that'll do whatever he need to do to win a game. You want a guy that starts the press conference and say, it starts with me, it ends with me. Cam Newton, that's your guy. And I feel like at this present time, the reason we all felt that he wasn't coming back, I just don't feel like he was going to be a fit to move forward. 1, he's older. 2, he's starting to have chronic injuries. That's not just injuries. We're saying chronic. Year after year, it's starting to be a little something, a little nick here, a little bruise there. I look at his career. It's nice, but if you put it against, if he was at a franchise that with a longer list of his, let's say Green Bay, for example, we're probably looking at it a little different. Dallas, we'll be looking at it a little different. You mentioned the short sample size that we got to deal with. That's what helps him is the short sample size. Because if you actually gave him a franchise with a long history, Chicago's Bears, I think we look at it a little different. So when I play word association with Cam Newton, the first thing come to my mind is first overall pick, guy bigger than most linebackers, best dressed guy in the building, didn't fall on the fumble in the one and only Super Bowl he made it to, one-time MVP, played for the Panthers 9 years, got 3 Pro Bowls out of it, only made the All-Pro one time. I'm like, hey Cam, it was nice. I hope you get another shot, but you know, that's an okay legacy. So that's what I think about his legacy. It was okay, it was cool, but they got rid of you and they signed a guy PJ Walker from the XFL, Cam. They went to the XFL, baby. I don't know. It just maybe I'm missing it. I'm missing the greatness here that Jay speak of. But I just seen a guy that came in. He was bigger than everybody, and once the NFL caught up with him, he started throwing himself a pity party, and now here's where he at. And like I said, I do see him making his way over to Los Angeles to play for the Chargers, and it'll be probably a good pickup for him. But I've been out on Cam Newton for quite a while, and I think this is the decline that I seen coming, and I think this the end, starting to be the beginning of the end for Cam Newton.
Yeah, it's. I think one of the interesting things you look at as far as guys that are picked like number one overall or just any really high draft pick, I think there's always that like expectation that so few players like really live up to. I mean, quarterbacks we judge so much on did you win a ring? I mean, a lot of guys can come in, play a long time, play a long career, have great seasons, make Pro Bowls, and you're like, okay, yeah, he was a good first round pick. But if you're drafted number one overall as a quarterback, you're expected to be the guy, right? You're expected to deliver the goods. And even guys like Andrew Luck, who statistically were as good or better a lot of seasons, didn't always deliver the goods. It's already like, oh well, he could have been better. And you look at Cam, it's like I just asked, like, what was he supposed to do? I mean, he was ridiculously tough. The guy, like you said, he was a guy that always came in and said, hey, it's on me. It's my team, my responsibility. He had that franchise guy. I mean, he had the little things with what he wore to the press conference and stuff, but there was never like a bunch of crazy off the field, oh, Cam Newton's acting a fool again type stuff. He was steady. I mean, he was reliable. And, he got him to a Super Bowl. Now they played a better team and they lost. I mean, it wasn't the 14-2 in a Super Bowl. There's a lot of teams that would give a lot for that for even a year, So when you look at the legacy he leaves back in Carolina, y'all are absolutely right. He is the biggest fish, but in a fairly small pond. That pond, of course, will get bigger. And it's a shame that 3-4 years ago we're talking about MVP, and then today he's getting kicked off and just booted to the curb with the rest of the trash. But that's how the league is. It's a what have you done for me lately league, and we always talk about loyalty and teams and this and that. Man, if the team don't have use for you anymore, they're going to drop you right next to those trash cans. They don't care. It is what have you done for me lately. As soon as you hit 30, it's well, you better be something special, because it's just how it is, and it's sad that the league is like that. But I think Cam has got a good opportunity to have a bit of a rebirth. I think, like you said, his game was starting to change. We talked about it last time we talked about it, and that game was changing a little bit when he got hurt last. And there's a couple teams he could go to and kind of have a little bit of that rebirth, I think when we talk about the two teams that are most likely with New England and the Chargers, I think that's something we might have not have talked about because we're trying to stay away from draft talk. But both those teams could be looking at the draft for the next quarterback. The Chargers this year with either Tua or Herbert, and the New England may just say, hey, screw it, we're just going to tank for Lawrence, see y'all next year. So we always go, well, why haven't those teams signed him yet? Oh, my God. But those teams could be looking a little bit longer term than just this season, especially if I'm New England and I'm looking to next year's following draft anyway. I'm not going to go pay a bunch of money for Cam Newton. The Washington's an interesting point, but that kind of comes down to what Riverboat Ron there wants to do. Does he want to tie his future to Dwayne Haskins and that little bit of what he saw, or does he want to just say, hey, maybe I could bring in a guy right now? That does make some sense, but from what I've heard, it just doesn't sound like there's much interest from the team and the organization as a whole. And the thing is, too, who's going to pay him, and why may he have to take a backup job, just like Jameis Winston's going to have to do. Andy Dalton's going to have to do, a couple of these other like starter level tier guys in that range. He might wind up having to play behind somebody, for a while until teams know he's healthy and know he's back into it. And maybe he goes somewhere where he thinks he can get on the field sooner than later. Who knows? But yeah, he's a good example of how the NFL goes and how fast the game can just leave you behind if you're not adapting and changing and staying healthy. That's how it is. You're muted, Jay.
To mention the word backup and Cam Newton in the same sentence, I think is flagrantly disrespectful. You cannot tell me that a guy that was an MVP 5 years ago just all of a sudden can't play and cannot start in this league. The problem is, you bring up a good point. A lot of teams are faced with, they've already got a young guy in there. Do they want to move forward with the young guy or bring in a guy who maybe has already played his best football and is too beat up to continue on? That's the hiccup. I don't think it's a question whether or not Cam can play and play at a high level. The question is health. He's been cleared to play. With that in mind, that there has to be a starting job available for him. This isn't Jameis Winston, a number one pick who hasn't accomplished much of anything in this league. This is a guy that took a team to a Super Bowl and has carried teams. Now, have they always been successful year in and year out? No, they have not. But we also got to take into consideration the supporting cast that has been given to him year in and year out. The Carolina Panthers, and I am skipping ahead a little bit, but I think this is a major point, I believe. The Carolina Panthers signed Robbie Anderson to a contract here recently. That means Teddy Bridgewater gets DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson this season. When did Cam Newton ever have two wide receivers of that stature? I don't think he never did. So,
he had Benjamin and Funky at one time.
Yeah, Benjamin before he got fat. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, he had the in shape Benjamin.
Right. Yeah, for like.
Where's he at? Where's Benjamin at now?
I say he had the in shape. A lot of guys ate themselves out of the league. That's not like.
Okay, well, you tell me. Would you rather have DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson?
Oh yeah.
DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are those two guys.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
Oh yeah, I mean DJ Moore fairly young, new, but yeah, I guess yeah. I mean they was all first round picks, so I guess whatever.
And the other point is the pressure and standard of a number one pick, it's huge, and sometimes it is unfair, and a lot of guys don't live up to it at all. Jameis Winston being one of them. Andrew Luck was a number one pick. He never won an MVP. I mean, if Andrew Luck,
that's apples and oranges, man. That's apples and oranges. I'm gonna tell you why, but that's apples and oranges.
Okay, go ahead.
Listen, first of all, this is what I think people are overlooking when they talk about Cam Newton. This underwhelming team he had, right? In 9 seasons with the Panthers, 8 of those 9 seasons, he was blessed with the same head coach and the same offense coordinator, one Mike Shula, the whole time. He didn't have to deal with coaching changeover. Oh, we keep comparing him to Jameis Winston. Oh, Jameis Winston dealt with a lot of coaching changeover and a lot of offense coordinators. Let's talk about Andrew Luck. We want to talk about Andrew Luck. Let's talk about Andrew Luck and his incapable GM that he had once he got there that let him get brutalized. If Andrew Luck would have had somebody capable of doing their job for, let's say, 6 years, and an offensive coordinator capable of doing their job, let's say 6 years, I would bet to guarantee you that we would have got a different Andrew Luck. But it's a little hard to be great when you're getting your kidney lacerated and somebody's in your chest every other place. Just hard. And we want to talk about doing more with less. So the greatest quarterback that had Jordan since Johnny Unitas the league and go to Denver and make them the greatest. So I mean, I understand. I'm not trying to say Cam Newton a bomb, but like I feel like his excuses being made for Cam Newton. The dude had the most steady situation on the offense side of the ball you can have. Okay, he didn't have the greatest weapon, but I can tell you one thing, and Tom Brady will tell you this. I would, if I can keep the same offensive coordinator and the same coach for how many ever years, and you can throw out scraps, and if I'm good enough to make those scraps work, this is the legacy Tom Brady that made for himself. Why? Because of Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels. They stayed put, and then he came, give me the best of the rest, and then now we look at Tom Brady and say, well, Tom Brady can make a stop sign look good, baby. So why? Like I don't feel like you got that dynamic like push out of Cam Newton. I just don't feel that way because especially when you compare him to Jameis Winston would have loved to have the same offense coordinator and the same head coach for 3 years in a row, but he didn't get that pleasure.
You think that would have made it? You think that would have made a difference?
It could have. Look, let me tell you something. Continuity plays a difference whether you want to believe it or not.
I believe it does.
When you build a relationship with a head coach and an offensive coordinator as a quarterback, and you can roll that thing over, so now you don't have to worry about the coaching. You need to worry about getting better now. Instead, every other year you're learning a new playbook. You're learning this. You're learning that. After a while, it's like, all right, cool, whatever. But would Jameis Winston? Can I guarantee that? Nah, I can't guarantee that. But I do think he would have been a better quarterback had he got that opportunity.
And there are better comps for Cam Newton than Jameis Winston. I only brought him up because we were talking about number 1 overall picks.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this. I would say at least half of the teams in the NFL, Cam Newton could walk in their building tomorrow and be a better quarterback than what they have now.
Yeah, my comment when I was talking about with him being a backup real quick, I wasn't saying like, oh, he's only backup material. I'm just saying the market may not be enough there for enough teams to go after him in that regard. I wasn't saying he's not still a starting talent.
Yeah, and with that in mind, if you agree to that point, and I think that's at minimum. At minimum, Cam Newton could walk into a building and be better than half of the starting quarterbacks in this league. With that bar in mind, you can't tell me someone can't make him a starting quarterback. I'm just not going to buy that.
We'll see. I mean, it may be one of those things where he doesn't sign in the offseason, and then a couple weeks in the season, somebody gets hurt, and boom, there you go. We'll see how it goes.